that didn't happen in the end. And although this experience of spontaneity was beautiful, I was also like, oh my God, like this is not how it was supposed to happen. Like I can't control this right now.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
I'm Ludo.
I'm Marge.
And we're Shrink It Out. And today we're here with Chloé from Extraordinary Life.
Hello.
So we can start off, maybe you can start off by telling us a little bit what Extraordinary Life is and what it does.
Yeah, so Extraordinary Life is a student association at Erasmus University. We work a lot with self-development and meaningful engagement. So we do a lot of different events, kind of breaking the taboo of certain like well-being and mental health topics, or just crazy ideas, or reflecting and developing skills, or getting out of your comfort zone physically. So we do a lot of really fun things.
Nice.
Yeah, and Shrink It Out is a psychology platform. We post articles and we have writers who write to us in an anonymous form about their feelings and thoughts. And yeah, our goal is to just raise awareness on psychology topics.
Yeah. So today we're here all together to talk about perfectionism.
Yeah, but a little bit of a disclaimer for everyone listening in. We are not professionals, we are not clinicians, we are not experts in this topic. So what we're kind of just talking about today is sharing our own opinions and our own experiences. So just keep that in mind when you listen in.
Definitely. I agree.
So should we start on what perfectionism is?
Yeah. Well, perfectionism is a personality trait where you kind of have really high standards. And you reach for really, really high goals. Sometimes it's unattainable, and you critically evaluate yourself or others based on these like really high goals or standards that you have. Do you guys resonate with that definition at all?
I mean, I feel like I do just a little bit. So I think it's important to point out the 3 types of perfectionism here. So the 3 main types that have been found are self-oriented perfectionism, other-oriented, and socially prescribed. So self-oriented is when you're really critical yourself and you have high expectations of yourself. Other-oriented, you have high expectations of other people as well. And socially prescribed, so this is more societal influences and in general social contexts. I think generally I'm not too much of a perfectionist, but I know that I do have some tendencies to think about or act in certain perfectionist ways, and it stems mainly from a socially prescribed perfectionism. So maybe pressure that I have from other people, maybe my parents or friends, and I don't mean this obviously in a mean way, but I tend to think that maybe they're thinking about me more than they probably actually do. And that makes me act in certain ways or wanting to perform in front of them.
So kind of your version of perfectionism is you think your standards are based on what you expect other people's standards for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Is.
So I kind of, I'm thinking what they might be thinking, and I try to stick to that. And then obviously there are times where I really try to hold back, because it's not necessarily a negative thing for some people, but for me I feel like then it would make me kind of denature the person that I am. But what about for you?
Yeah, I feel like we usually talk about self-oriented perfectionism a lot. So for a long time I thought I wasn't a perfectionist, but I do resonate a lot with the definition of socially prescribed perfectionists, because I feel like I tend to perceive that people will negatively, or expect, not really perceive, that they will negatively evaluate me or evaluate me more harshly than they actually do. And it's not just in terms of achievements, it's even of in general who I am as a person, and how my appearance, and so I definitely think I am a perfectionist in that way.
Have you had people tell you that you are a perfectionist, or did you think about it on your own?
No, I feel like my close friends came to me, when we were having a conversation about perfectionism, pointed out that I'm a perfectionist. I don't think I would have realized it alone. What about you?
For myself, I think I'm more of a self-oriented perfectionist. I really hold high standards for myself, and I am my harshest critic. Like, I really critically evaluate my behavior and my performance based on what I think should be the best version of myself. And that, I think, sometimes comes from the socially prescribed perfectionism, thinking that, you know, the imposter syndrome, and thinking people are going to find you out, that you actually don't know anything. So you need to achieve higher and higher and more to be able to step away from that. But I definitely see myself being a self-perfectionist. And what I also notice is that it's so exhausting as well to have this kind of part of your mind nitpicking at your every behavior. But it doesn't necessarily, like you said, have to be a bad thing. There's positive and neurotic or negative perfectionism.
I think the difference with positive and negative perfectionism is, like, generally if you are striving for like a high goal or a high achievement, which obviously taken to an extreme can be negative, but I think that can also be very positive. It can make you a determined person,
really motivated,
persevere. Exactly. But then when it becomes more of a neurotic thing, then it's not so much that you want to attain the goal, it's more that you're scared of the failure. So your fear of failure is what's like keeping you going, and I guess that is it's definitely like a detrimental feeling to be scared of failure constantly.
And that it also impedes your functioning as well. Like, it really affects different aspects of your life, and you sit there and you try to do something, but you're so scared you're going to do it terribly, so you just don't do it in the end.
I think that's a common misconception. Like, we think of perfectionists are like as like really highly achieving people, and which can be true, but in some cases, if you are neurotic, so if it influences, like if you get anxiety because of your perfectionism, then it can actually impede your performance, or lead to like procrastination and a lot of negative things that actually make your performance worse than it would be.
It probably keeps you in this loop of like, should I do it? I'm not going to be able to do it. But what if? And that definitely, impairs your functioning.
But it highlights how, just like other things in the, like other concepts with psychology, perfectionism can be a whole spectrum of really where you are on the positive perfectionist side, like really high achieving, very motivated, and it doesn't have anything to do with your self-confidence or self-esteem. But then you go to the other end and it really disrupts your daily life and the way that you function with different activities, and to the point where, like, I don't know if it's related, but narcissism maybe as well, and imposter syndrome, as I mentioned before, can really have an effect.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Like you were saying now with the confidence, it really does matter if perfectionism within you, it's something that is intrinsic or it's extrinsic. So if you attach it to your self-worth, so I am worthy just because I'm achieving this and I'm able to do this, etc., etc. Or if you have high goals, you obtain a number, you don't, but it doesn't necessarily like wreck your self-confidence or impact you as a person.
Like, you're able to kind of dissociate the self from this trait. No, dissociate the self from your achievements.
Yeah, exactly.
And things like that.
But do you know people who are able to achieve this like positive perfectionism? So like they have their self-worth, which is stable and like solid, and they are perfectionists, so they aim high, but they're not neurotic about it at all. Like, do you think it's something that is achievable, or do you know people who are like that?
I think it's hard. On one hand, it's hard for me to think of any, because probably I've always associated perfectionism a bit as a neurotic thing, which is like a wrong misconception, because it's not true for everyone. But on the other hand, I also think it's influenced by like my perception of how perfectionist people are, because sometimes I perceive someone to be much more perfectionist than they actually are, just because maybe I don't perceive myself as a perfectionist. And I can only come up with a few examples where maybe people were like really good in school, striving for like good grades, or wanting to do that internship, that summer job, etc., but not being constantly like stressed or demotivated or procrastinating during their day, and they were able to complete all the things they had in their schedule, to their to-do list, but when they got at the end of the day, they felt satisfied, and they actually felt realized, and they were okay. And if something didn't turn out as planned, then they didn't attribute it to themselves. They didn't give them it wasn't their fault. But it's I mean, I can't, it's like people I count on my fingers, so it's very few people.
Yeah, I also can't really think of a single person who is a perfectionist in a positive manner that also is able to dissociate their self from it, because like I mentioned before, you could have perfectionists who are very high achieving, high motivation, striving for more, but also has that aspect of ego come in, and because they achieve so many things, they have this inflation of ego, and therefore it becomes a bit dysfunctional, and that's where maybe you see narcissism come into play.
I guess I didn't think too much about that aspect as well.
But it also comes down to like gender differences, for example. Like I feel women or females generally are more perfectionistic because they are more conscientious and more reflective over what they do, their behaviors, how they appear socially to other people. So it could be that, just because we feel it more often, it's because we're females. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I think it's like a hard topic, or it's like a hard thing to, like, I don't know where to draw the line with it. If I think of my personal experience, I have had perfectionist thoughts because I was a woman. Like I justified them themselves, like, okay, Ludo, because you are a girl, etc., then you need to
be perfect and
make yourself be seen in the best of ways, so that, I don't know, for jobs or not, but not necessarily just for jobs, but then I know that perfectionism is also very common in males, so I think
but that's also a really interesting point that you just made out, how like, because maybe for females society has idealized what females should be, we should look a certain way and things like that, that could fuel our levels of perfectionism perhaps.
Definitely. But also I don't know, I feel like maybe this is more relevant to neurotic perfectionism. So probably like positive or no, I don't know if it's more like that it's more socially accepted again for females to be neurotic also about their perfectionism, while for males they have to be detached from it, so maybe they don't even like dig deep, like they're not allowed or they're not given the space for them to dig deep into themselves and see if this is causing them anxiety. I think maybe this is also something for them.
And also, like, it's true that we have maybe this need to strive for that perfectionism, to be seen and to be perfect in the eyes of everyone else, but then I think of males, they kind of already have that maybe, and it's like they need to maintain it. So I feel like there is also a pressure on them, on, we need to reach it and they need to maintain it, and losing it or like appearing like the person that is not like not being able to do things or to achieve things will then that's also, I think, of the pressure that they can feel,
and it kind of fuels this aspect of maybe males having to be the breadwinners of the family, to constantly maintain those achievements in order to support whoever they're supporting.
I guess there are people, like, there are gender differences also in the areas and like domains of life in which
Yeah, exactly.
Perfectionism.
Yeah.
happens, yeah.
for of course like workplace perfectionism tends to be associated more to males, like
Yeah.
it's a bigger life stressor for them. For example, to lose a job, it's like statistically proven that it leads to like more stress for males than for females. So
Where do
example.
you guys like see perfectionism affecting specific areas of your life? Like, it's been proven to affect, like you said, work, study, homework, cleaning, organizing and ordering things, eating, weight, shape, personal hygiene, sport, fit. Like, where do you see it kind of seeping into your life?
I think this is kind of like where performance steps in, like how much you think things are performance to like how much things are an act to perform in front of people, or if they're an act for you and for your personal development. I mean, I think school is definitely a big part of it, but I mean, it's also normal because we spend the first 20 years of our life in school, so I don't even, it's not even to blame, like it's kind of normal, I would say. I mean, it's
I guess it depends also, like as you said, on what you deem as a domain in which you're performing or not. Like if you're a very for example, if you feel like when even with your close friends you're performing, then perfectionism might play a role. I don't know. I feel like for me, the social sphere is very affected by perfectionism, which is impeding. Like, it doesn't make me super outgoing and striving for perfectionism in that way, but it blocks me and gives me anxiety. So I feel like maybe that.
I think for me it's more like things that maybe I rationally know that are outside, out of my control, but I try to instill my perfectionism on them to pretend that I have control in them, and then it happens that I don't, because I just don't have them, and then I'm dissatisfied, and then I'm mad at myself. It's kind of like this self-perpetuating loop. So maybe plans, I can't really tolerate if plans change, but maybe they change because I don't know, there was an accident or something happened, and I get super frustrated because nothing is fitting perfectly like I wanted it to. So I just become less flexible, but it was something that was definitely out of my control.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that. I remember one instance, I was on exchange. I think it was our last night, and we had this plan. Also, these people were going to go on this taxi, I was going to go on this taxi, but this person was missing. And then when we got to the location, one taxi went to a completely different location, and then some people were it was all over the place. And we were supposed to go to this one club, but then we all ended up dancing on the sidewalk to some guy playing live music. And I just remembered I had a huge not panic attack, but it was almost like an anxiety attack and a little bit of a meltdown, because I had this plan in my head that I thought I would help to control by going after and finding people and bringing them to this location. But that didn't happen in the end. And although this experience of spontaneity was beautiful, I was also oh my God, this is not how it was supposed to happen. I can't control this right now, but I wish it was gonna this way before.
No, I definitely I feel you so much, because there are a lot of times where then the situation turns out to be okay, and maybe even turns out to be much more fun or better than the one that was planned. But it's inside I feel personally attacked. I feel but I don't know why. I feel personally attacked, as if someone had been mean to me, or as if I could just crumble on to the floor in pieces for this stupid I don't know why. And then that's the thing, you realize that it's a better situation, but you are impeded by your perfectionism, and you can't have fun, you can't enjoy it, and then you kind of scold yourself for not enjoying it, and
it's like you said, this perpetuating cycle of just it going so dark and deep into it. I don't know, in those moments. But also with this level of control, it can get so overbearing and so much, and this is where we see a lot of like disorders come out. Like, what are some disorders that are associated with perfectionism?
I can think of eating disorders, like especially the restrictive type of anorexia, but also bulimia. It's very much about control, and perfectionism is a personality type which has been seen to predict these type of disorders if brought to an extreme.
Yeah, and the same thing also, there's a link also with obsessive compulsive disorder, so OCD.
Yeah.
There are these loops of, wanting to control and the obsessions, and then having to act them out in compulsions, where the person really has this need to control things. Again, this is not obviously the same for everyone, but it has been linked to eating disorders and OCD, so when taken to an extreme.
Yeah. And I think it's also somehow can relate to certain anxiety disorders as well. And just being so anxious over not having control. And I think that does come back to like eating disorders and OCD, for example.
Yeah, of course.
But to kind of wrap up like this first part, we talked about like perfectionism, what it is, the different types and which ones that we parallel ourselves in it, whether it can be maladaptive or positive, and how it's a spectrum experience, also with gender and societal installments within gender as well. But for now, do you guys have anything else you want to add?
Not really.
I think it was
I think we have 2 more episodes of this, and we have a lot to add. So
in the next one, we'll talk more about like student experience and how it actually goes into that. And I guess, see you in the next episode.
This was our first part. Thank you.
Bye.